Hey, this is Professor Homa back with part 2 of EX surgeries. What I'm going to do is start our spreadsheet. Now, I showed you this before. I'm going to make a new document. So I'm going to go File, New in Excel and make a blank workbook. And this is what I'm going to start with. And you're going to start with that too. So if you're used to getting the files that I just give to you and you just have to add things up, this will be a little more work. That's why I gave you the table on page 2 of the instructions, so you could get a little bit of a visual to see how to set that up. And I gave you some data, and other data you're going to have to figure out in there. But one of the things that I did mention is you're going to have basically through column H is where your spreadsheet is going to go on here, and we're going to basically use about 10 rows. So there's going to be a title row, there's going to be some headings, and then the surgeons are going to start for 6 rows, and then you're going to have totals. Okay, so what I'm going to do is get that started, and instead of merging cells, I'm going to do as many columns across as I can. Now, if you look at your table, the ones where it has columns in every cell is basically 3 down. Now, you could start at the top and then insert rows, but I'm going to start right here, and I'm just going to type in surgeon as a heading, and then my next heading over is surgeries, and then the next one over is complications. And if I wanted to copy this, I can right-click copy and go over here and do a Control-V and paste. And I can right-click here and copy and go here and do a Control-V, which is paste. And notice that they're kind of, this one's going over into the next cell. Remember that once there's something in the neighboring column, it's going to cover that up. And then there's one more, surgeries and complications. So I could highlight these two and right-click copy, and then go into these 2 cells and right click and do a paste. Okay, those are my headings, and the very last one in H is going to be, I'm just going to put complication here because I'm going to put rate of kind of in a cell above. Now, one thing you could do here is highlight all these cells through H and just go to format and do auto fit column width. So there's enough width for all of these. And you may want to stretch this out because surgeon names may be a little longer. So our surgeons are going to be under here, and I'll type in the surgeons. I'll type in Holland, okay, and I'll pause, and I'll type in the rest. Okay, I typed in the surgeons' names over here. One of the things I could do here, if I want to center these, I could just center these horizontally because they're going to center over top of the columns. Now, one thing I'm also going to do is I'm going to type right over here in column B, and I'm going to type in 2009, and I'm going to go over D, and I'm going to type in 2010, and then I'm going to go over F, and I'm going to type in totals, and I'm going to go over H, and I'm going to type in rate of. Okay, and now what I'm going to do with these, now I didn't format any font yet or anything, but what I'm going to do here is I'm going to merge these, or I could even do merge and center, and then I'll highlight these 2 and merge and center, and I'll highlight the totals and merge and center. And what that does is it centers the year over top of these 2 columns because it's both the surgeries and complications for that year. And what I'm going to do at the top in my very first cell is I'm going to type in SHH bariatric surgeons, and they do weight loss surgery. And to have this centered all over the top, I'm going to merge and center these cells. So starting with A1, I'm going to drag across over to H, and I'm going to do merge and center. And again, I'll probably make, at any point, if you want to make it bigger, like a heading, you can do that. You can make these bold, whatever you want to do. Now, another thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to center this cell up here, because these were all centered on each other. So rate of complication. Okay, and I'm going to put in my data now. Now, the data is on your instructions at the very top. That's where we have that 1 through 6, and it talks about, it starts with 79, and I'll put in the first row, and then I'll pause again. But 79, and then 3, and then there's 157, and then there's 4. And that's starting out for that surgeon. And again, we can, maybe I'll center all of these because they're all probably going to be centered, so I could center all of this data. And what I'm going to do is I'll fill in the rest, and then I'll go through the auto summing, and we'll do the rest of this. So let me pause real quick, and then I'll fill this in. Okay, I entered the data from our sheet here, and just to help you out. You're probably better off entering things vertically because it's easier to follow when you're looking at it on the sheet. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to auto sum some of these. Now again, I didn't format anything yet, but remember to auto sum. Just go down at the bottom and just hit the auto sum button and just hit return. And there I come up with 376. And just to check out, I'm going to just look at my other sheet here, and that's what I had on that one. So I'm going to go back to the one I'm working on. I just wanted to check. And again, remember, to auto sum, instead of copying and pasting, you can drag this over, and that's putting 26. And I could just drag this all the way over, and that's getting all my totals. And again, I'll just check just to see if that's what I had here. 26, 441, 21. And going back to this one, that's what I'm getting there. And now once I do these, I can total up the surgeries. Now I can't just auto sum across. What I'm going to do is put in the individual cells. So for here, what I'm going to do is I'll actually go equal sum. And if you're not sure what a formula looks like, if you forget if it's sum equals or anything, just look at another one. And it says equal sum, and it doesn't matter if you use lowercase or caps. So I'm just going to go here and I'm going to type in equal sum, and then in parentheses I'm going to look at the cells that I want to add up, and I want to add up I want to add up this cell and then this cell over here. So up here in the formula, and it's already starting to highlight it, but I'm just going to type in here B4 and I'll put in plus D4, and I'll finish off my parentheses and I'll hit return, and that's 236, which looks about right. Okay, and now I think I should be able to just drag this down. I have that right, so we drug that down, and it followed the same pattern by skipping over one cell for the surgery. So for the complications, I'm going to do the same thing, and I'll just type in here equal sum and then start my parentheses, and I'm just going to do my C4 plus E4. So I'll do C4 plus E4, finish off the parentheses, hit return, and there it is. And now if I want to drag this all the way down, there's my data. Okay, so I have all that data finished. The last thing I could do here as far as formulas is just do my rate of complication. And to do that, I'm going to be taking the totals here and just dividing. Kind of like, a score on a test, except on this test you want to have a low score. So I'm going to use my lower number divided by the higher number. So I'm going to do equals and then sum, and in parentheses I could do this, and again I'm not going to use the number because remember this could change. I want to use the cell references, so it's going to be G4 divided by F4 is what these cells are here. So I'm going to do G4 divided by just a slash divided by F4 and finish off my parentheses, hit return, and I get this long value here, 0.029. And what you want to do to change this is make sure that you go up here and make it percentage, and if you want it, if you want more decimal points, you can add decimal points to it, or you can take them away by using this little button here. But just 3% is fine. If you want to add one, 3.0, that's fine. We could just use one decimal point, but we shouldn't really need that. They should all, I think, again, let me look back here. No, some of them use some numbers. So we'll use one decimal point. We'll stick with the way it is on the sample. So this is fine. So let me see if I should be able to just drag this down. And I get 11.7, and they look about right. And it stays in that same format, the percentage format with one decimal point. So that's all my data. What I'm going to do from this data is then make some charts. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'll stop here and maybe I'll do some formatting. You don't have to watch me do formatting. I'll just do some while I'm paused, and then I'll come back and I'll make some charts.